Yeah.
I don't know. But
Speaking
anyhow,
of events, bruh, please tell me you watched the Dame Dash interview on Breakfast Club, bruh.
loved it.
Okay.
It was one of those. To me, the Dame Dash interview was like one of those classic hip hop black culture moments
Yes.
that you can say, all right, this was one that was captured on the internet that everybody could talk about, that has replay value, that could have excerpts, memes. It did the whole 9 yards.
Listen, I
It was
think
so
that's
good.
I think that's exactly why Charlemagne was just laughing because he knew he had one, bro.
I knew
Like,
he did. I knew he
yeah,
was.
he knew he had one because this is your opportunity to explain yourself, and you dropped the ball. You completely dropped the ball. Like, Dame does not know how to talk to people, bro. Like, he literally does not know how to talk to people.
See, this is my thing about it. I don't think that it's that the Dame does, and then I'm going to say this, and I'll put this out there as a caveat, because I am biased when it comes to Dame Dash. I was telling Nick this today that I for some reason I don't know why I'm a big Dame Dash fan, right? I get Dame Dash, so that
Mhm.
so if I come across as biased, okay, sure.
Okay.
I think that what it is I think that what Dame Dash has seems to have an issue with when it comes to having a conversation or talking with people. I think that Damian Dash stands so firmly on his code that it's hard for him to have conversations with people who aren't like-minded. If you don't live through a code, whatever your code is, if you don't stand on a code, it's hard for Damian Dash to have a conversation with you. You have to have a conversation on his level. You know what people say, oh yeah, well, we can have a conversation. Like with Dame Dash, you always seem to have to meet him where he is. So whatever level he is on this conversation, that's where you got to take it. And I think that the problem with that is that it doesn't lend for him to have a true open platform. Let's just have this open discussion, because he's always gonna fall back to his code. And I think that that's where this was very, the first time they had the big interview with him, when they showed the differences in the clashes between him and Charlemagne, it's nothing different now. It's just more time has passed and there's more information that's available now on him.
Right. I understand having differences with people with communication, differences of people of life experiences, differences on stances and stuff like that. Because I don't think any of his stances were wrong. But the problem is you not, just because you stand on a certain way, you still have to meet people in the middle of where they're
Mhm.
at. So that's what I mean by he doesn't know how to talk to people because of his differences. He can't he cannot communicate. And so
Right.
when the Breakfast Club said before the interview, and this was like a week ago, when they said Dame is in his own way, this is what they're talking about. Because if I ask you a question, I'm gonna let you get your stuff out. But if you are like your brain is moving faster than your thought process of releasing information. So then you get deterred, and then you want to ask a question, and then you talk about, well, you never like, so you asked me a question, so now I'm trying to answer you, but now you saying I'm interrupting you. Like like the whole thing was not beneficial. And but the problem is he's the one that needed to explain some things. The Breakfast Club doesn't. Like, you trying to insult the place that gave you the opportunity to shed light on your information, and insulting people like, because you work for somebody you're stupid, or because you never did this you're stupid. Like, no, you don't, you can't keep telling a grown man how stupid you are, how this or how that. Like, the gay thing didn't bother me at all because Charlemagne finally shot back. You broke. Like, listen, you gonna call me gay, I'm gonna call you broke. Like, that's just, I had no issue with that. You know what I'm saying? But you calling me stupid, or you caught, like, because you've never, like, you can't talk down to me when I'm trying to do an interview with you that you agreed to do, that you chose to come. Like, the whole thing. Like, I get everything that you said, but nah, you don't know how to talk to people, bro. And ultimately,
I agree with that.
it makes you look bad.
It does make you look bad. I think that the big thing in the end, right, in the court of public opinion, it makes you look bad, right? If we're talking about that. But I think that the thing that's interesting me, I'm talking about the moments, right?
Mhm.
The you being gay was one of those moments, right? When he called out specific things that
Yeah,
he thought Charlemagne did, I thought that was something that you can't help, even if you're Charlemagne. I
right.
think you can't help but laugh, right? I think that the part that I think that's interesting is that when he kept saying that you gonna cut me off, you're gonna let me finish my stuff. But that to me was like a funny part about it. The part that I thought was funny, he was like, "Yeah, you know," he said, "If I punch you in the face, you're not gonna do nothing about it because you got history of not doing nothing about that kind of stuff, though." And he's like, "Yo, when you ran, right? I don't run." That's funny to me, right? But I think equally as funny with the comebacks, like the Debt
He
Dash,
said,
right? You should
"Go
open a
fight."
label called Debt Jam.
Yeah.
Like that's hilarious to me. And I thought that, you can tell how agitated Dame was when he was like, "Yeah, that's why you trying to do this fake laugh right quick." And I thought that that's when I knew Charlemagne knew that I got one. We got another. He knew that that was the
He went.
Birdman
He
moment.
turned into the old Charlemagne. Charlemagne has not attacked or bantered with a guest in years, bro. Years,
Yeah.
little years. He's in a different mindset. He goes to therapy now. He allows people to come up there and say what they wanted to say. Because the last time a guest came up there that was disrespectful, that the Breakfast Club ate him alive, it was a YouTuber. But
I
Charlemagne
saw
didn't have
that.
to get him. Jess got him. Because Jess is the
Yeah,
one that
yeah, yeah.
dived on him. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. By the way, I love that moment. By the way, that
Oh,
that
me
was
too.
one of them ones. Yeah,
He
yeah,
couldn't,
yeah. I
that boy
absolutely
didn't
love
even
it.
have no water left in his body. He said, she was like, I don't know what you're drinking for. You ain't got no water in there. Like he was in the hot seat burning up,
I
bro.
thought that boy was about to cry though, man. I thought he was gonna cry when he got in his car though, man. But I think that listen, I knew for sure. I said Dame Dash gonna give me something. He gonna give you something. And I thought that it was this is what I think. Here's where I think that Dame Dash wins from all this, right? So the bad part about it is that when he started talking about his finances and everything like that, they after they did the recap, my girl was like, "Hey, you know what? He kind of, some of the people that was basically suing him was basically trying to say, all right, well, we can use this in a lawsuit, use the information or whatever." So that's the one part that's bad. But I think that the part that I can appreciate for Dame Dash, if it's at all true, right, that Dame Dash has money, he just don't have the money to pay back these debtors or have enough money or whatever it is. If he can legally do this, like a lot of people with money have done,
Mhm.
and said, "Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and declare I'm gonna file for bankruptcy so that I don't." If there are things that can protect you, and he can do it, that's cool. I don't think that Dame Dash is broke, even though he'll let you say that he's broke because that's what he has to do for legal purposes, though, right? So I think that's one thing. But I think that the part that Dame wins on is that if he does has things that are in the works, I think at this point it wasn't anything damaging enough to where this isn't just more publicity for him, right? I think that it's a moment. I think it's another one of those things. It's like I think about that when Soldier Boy got up there when he said the Drake. Like at that point, I don't think that I had seen Soldier Boy in 5 years or said anything about him. And I thought that for him to have a Breakfast Club moment, I thought that he maxed it out. And I think that he it's like whatever you thought about Dame Dash, you thought you doubled down on it for good or bad. But the good of all of it is that he is very much in the public eye on one of the biggest platforms in Black America, Black culture, and especially for hip hop. And so I think that with him, knowing if he's going to eventually get to wherever he want to be at with his ventures, at some point, it's the stop through. You got to swing by Breakfast Club, though, man. So it was a win-win for everybody. But the moment that we got from it was the win for us as fans of Black culture, though, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when he said, "How you gonna tell me what Chatty Patty mean?" and I'm the one that made it up, that junk was hilarious to me, bro. But him saying
Yeah.
that he was the chairman of
Revolt.
Revolt, and Revolt was like, "No."
Nah, he ain't with us though, bro. I died that, but I think that listen, this is my thing though. If I'm Dane, I keep riding that. I think he could have done that and then trolling because ultimately he was trying to get back at Cam, right? For this, right? So I'm looking at if I'm Dame, I'm riding this and I'm trolling on everything. Every chance I get, though, bro, I'm trolling out there. But
Yeah,
the-
but you
but
ain't do nothing but you gave Cam another log for the fire, bro.
either way, though, man, you still up as long as your name is being mentioned for you being Dame Dash. If something, think about that though, bro. If you had 100 M's in your bank account, right? But
Mhm.
somebody saw you driving a broke down car, and they said, "Oh yeah, that boy Ace, he broke." Do you got to go and prove to somebody you got money?
Nah, you don't. But the thing is that you chose to get on that platform and
I
say the
get
things
that.
that you said.
Yes,
But
I get that, but I'm just talking about in general terms. If people in general thought you were broke, right? Do you feel like, well, just to show y'all I ain't broke, bam, here go this big gaudy chain, right? If you've already like my thing is this: if Dame Dash could realistically say, in terms of that whole fashion thing for hip hop and black culture, he could very well easily say I was one of the innovators. So it doesn't, for what impresses y'all now, it doesn't impress me because I did that 20 years ago, right? 30 years ago, I was doing that. Y'all are wearing chains and doing label chains, and we had the piece that's still recognizable, right? We had the clothing. We've done everything that people are doing now. So my thing is that if you're Dame, it's like I don't really see that, especially legally, it does nothing for you to just try to dispel this Dame Dash is broke. You can read whatever publicly that you want to find out. That's public information. But no one will ever know how much cash Damon Dash is sitting on or how much he really has. And so, from that perspective, I'm just thinking, like, all right, well, it's beneficial for me at the moment for y'all to keep saying that I'm broke and for y'all to ride this narrative, but I'm not going to dispel anything if it's going to hurt where I'm at with what I got going on business wise, though, man. I'm not mad at, but again, I defend Dame Dash though, bro, because I am biased when it comes to him, bro.
I get that. But you can tell that boy was bitter about that Jay-Z boy.
Oh,
Ew, oh my gosh. You
I
could
don't
not
think he'll
mention.
ever get over that.
I mean, I get it, but yeah, it was just how bitter though.
Hey, so listen, I'm not gonna lie to you though, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you though, nigga. You got to look at it like this. Imagine, because this is probably more literally what it is. Imagine if me and you fell out and it was over something that I thought was the extremest foul of the extremest foul. If I felt like you and I, we're talking about codes, right? If I felt like me and you, all of our lifetime, right, that we've known each other, and especially as grown men, that we've created our own code. You and I, we created the way that we would go about being men and being around and raising our family and how we engage with each other. We created our code. And then if we fell out because I felt like you violated that, there's so many different levels to why I think that why you would be bitter. Because for me, it's beyond just you and I's business. That means that I would feel like you violated me as a brother. You violated me as one of the people who I tell almost anything to. Now you've also violated the fact that your family is like my family. So now you've caused the wedge into relationships that you and I have had mutually. Like I can totally understand how, from Dame's perspective, that his issue with Jay, if he doesn't feel like he was at fault, and if he felt like he always stood 10 toes down behind Jay-Z, right? And if he felt like Jay-Z was the one that violated their friendships, for as long as they have been friends and business partners, I can totally understand why Dame would. And I don't think that he's necessarily wrong on that, bro.
He's not wrong. But if you're that bitter, just don't bring him up. Dame is the one that brought up Jay-Z. James is the one that said, I believe, like you talk about everybody else, but you never say something about Jay-Z. Like you got his name tattooed on him and you wearing his clothing and you doing this, you like everything. He brought that up. My thing is that it's totally acceptable for him to feel that way. Don't bring him up because
I
you
listen, man.
You
I
opened
I
yourself up
can't.
to looking that crazy.
I can't, bro. I listen. I can't listen. Maybe for me, I'm too much. And then I listen. I'm a Jay Z is the goat of goat, and I hold Jay Z to the highest of highest standards. But anytime I hear Dame Dash talk about Jay Z, doesn't matter how many times I hear him say it. I never hear him say anything that I think is wrong. I've never heard him say anything that I thought was foul. Now, whether or not he should be talking about it is another thing. You could just not, right? Because I
Yeah.
don't think that, as far as I know, Jay Z doesn't go publicly talking about Dame Dash,
Right.
right?
But what I'm saying is it'd be different if the Breakfast Club brought up Jay-Z and he responded that way. Wouldn't
Yeah,
have an issue with it because you brought it
I
up.
feel you.
But
That's true.
you brought it up. The other
I
thing,
feel that.
the other part that I thought was interesting is because he contradicted himself so much. Like, you tell me I can't do this, but then you do it. Like,
Yeah.
he cut off Lauren LaRosa so much. He was cutting everybody off. And just like, that's where I'm like, you this is your code, this is your things that you say trigger you, but you turn around and do it to everybody else. That's where I'm like, nah.
In his defense,
Okay.
let me say this. In his defense, if he felt like you are about to put out misinformation, in his defense, I think that you would want to clip that before the misinformation go out, because once the information goes out there, all it has to do is be repeated multiple times before people assume that that's the truth.
He said that in the interview. He said that in the interview about what's her name? Claudia Jordan. He said that about the whole incident that he's going through with her, that she's putting out this information, and so her stuff is getting in the algorithm. And if he don't defend himself, then that's all it's
Yes.
gonna be. I get that, but you ain't let Lauren get her stuff off, because here's the thing: Lauren has personally talked to him before the Breakfast Club interview, so she's already asked him some of these questions. She just had follow-ups. And so my thing is that, okay, you don't want to talk to Envy anymore. You don't want to talk to Charlemagne no more. Lauren is there. You ain't even let her get her stuff off. And that's it, it's my, again, you brought these rules. You came in and said, these are my, you started the interview. This, and this are my things. And you turn around and did the exact thing. That's what I had an issue with. I
In
had an
his
issue.
defense, in his defense, Charlemagne violated those first by cutting him off.
Charlemagne was trying to have a conversation. Like, me saying yes and okay while you're talking is not interrupting you. That is just validating what you're saying, letting you know that I'm paying attention. That I have no issue with that. Now, Jess had to call Charlemagne out a couple of times. Charlemagne fell back, but then you go into then asking me a question, and then I try to respond. You like, wait, don't cut me off. Like, you just asked me a question. Like, when am I? So then you ask me a question, and I sit there, and you like, well, why you ain't saying nothing? Now I asked you a question, you don't want to say nothing. Well, I, I can't.
That in his defense, in his defense, that'll happen with anybody.
I don't know, bro. That interview. Listen, my blood was boiling watching that thing. I was laughing at myself for getting mad watching it, because I'm like,
It's platinum.
yeah, it was a great. I watched every drop of that interview. And
Yeah.
then it's crazy because his OG was even telling, like, yeah, he exaggerated a whole bunch. Like, even your OG out here telling you out here be fabricating stuff.